Morning of the 5th of January 2025. Everybody wants to be a writer. Who's everybody? You don't know everybody, as my late mother told me at the door, or was it in the hall in Finglas South in 1974 or thereabouts? Everybody wants to be a writer. See, this is an experiment how and in what way? Good question. I'm glad you asked. Well, I'm going to write a little book of Proverbs. And I'm going to do it over breakfast as my family buzz around. I'm not going to overthink or work out plots or backstories. I'm just going to put pen to paper. As the words poured in, I'll spread them out. I said pen to paper, but I never use them, pen or paper. And what I'll do will be done in one draft. No rewrites, or for the most part, no edits, just my raw and unfiltered words. Here's a question. How many people do you know, or how many people know you? I can't say, neither can you. So, if you've just happened on this walk, let me give you a quick overview of who I am. I am the fighter, the writer, and the one-time musician. I know what it is to trade blows in a ring, and I know what it is to make myself feel at home in that place. I know what it is to stand in front of thousands of people, to play in places like the National Concert Hall, to fill the National Stadium on more than one occasion, and the Point Depot, and they now call it the Tree Arena. I've been on the telly, the radio, and many newspapers. The reason I say this has only one purpose, or maybe it has two. Reason one is, the question I've been most asked on the radio or different places is, why did you write, and what is the purpose of your writing, and how do you start? I know what you're thinking. That's more than one question. To answer, I'll involve my imagination as we travel back to a place of my youth. The story I will tell you would probably be told in more detail in a different book. But for now, let's go and visit a particular day. It was a beautiful day in Dublin City. The sun was our friend and the streets our companion. I entered a bookshop as a 14-year-old boy, or maybe 15. It was a bookshop in Middle Abbey Street on the corner by the lane. Do you know it? Books to the left, to the right, and on the table. There were others behind and more in front, and others down the back. Out of nowhere came a moment for the boy in the bookshop. The boy in the bookshop caught sight of a bumblebee. A bumblebee in the window, a noise from the street, and an atmosphere stepped in like something I hadn't experienced before and took hold of me and made me feel at home. From then on, questions or thoughts I'd had, my soothing place was standing in the midst of a bookshop. I wasn't a good reader, but I felt that books had suddenly become my friend. A few years later, as I was working on an inner city project in Ardenkey, but however, we'll talk about that in a few moments, because even though I had planned to do this little book of Proverbs in one sitting, I've now changed my mind. So what I'll do will be probably over four sittings at the morning, over breakfast, or just a coffee. So what I've said, I will now just put to bed and lay it to rest. The morning of the 6th of January, 2025. Good morning. Okay. I left you with a line about me finding work in a project in a church in the inner city. It was there that I had an encounter with 3 nuns, and for some reason I found favour in their eyes. They prayed in the mornings, and from my understanding they kept me in front and centre before God. One day, as I sat in the basement, I got a visit from a nun. She was tall and tender, her movements were graceful. Sister Frances took on the nurturing role as our visiting spiritual advisor. The cellar was dark, lit with laughter from the rough and ready bunch of Dublin lads. We came from north or south of the old Green River, with a mixture of mischief and defence and defiance, prepared to fight at the drop of a hat, or outwit anyone who tried to outsmart us. Our young hands were skilled and callous in different trades. There was plenty of people around me, a good friend of mine, a great carpenter, Michael. We were friends. We were all tucked away in the basement in the church in the heart of the inner city, St. Paul's Roman Catholic Church on Lincoln Lane, Arrankey, Dublin 7. And off she came. She talked to us about morals. Her topics touched on compassion, integrity and respect for one another, values that are closely linked to our Catholic education. And she gave me a Bible. It was a good news version, simple reading for an unlearned man who didn't read much. None of the sisters dressed like nuns. They dressed like me granny. They were nice women who showed us kindness. One hot day, they brought us boys who sat at the side of the church cold drinks. Sister Frances said, "Are you reading your Bible, George?" "I am, sister," I lied. "I like the pictures." They are more stick figures, to be fair. We sat and chatted at the side of the church in a place they called the English Gardens. Later I stood on Lincoln Lane and wondered. I looked to the sky and pondered. I entered the church and marvelled at everything that was around me. I looked at the artistic work and I had a question that accompanied a few more. If man was made from the dust of the ground, who made him? This is a question I had from a boy. I remembered how interesting I found the symbols of the church, the colours, the structure, and even the architecture. I know or knew what I knew in my knower, even though I didn't know what it was I knew. For me, it was the entrance into the world of arts. In the 15th century, the Catholic Church called on artists such as Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, and Raphael to use their arts to spread the beauty and the message of the gospel in a more vibrant way. This undertaking brought about a profound transformation that broke through the traditional values and images and symbols that were used beforehand. And the thing I can tell you about our city was the one I was born in, it was far removed from the one we see today. Ireland was not Italy, nor was Dublin Rome, but we were very much influenced by the theology of the men of the Second Vatican Council. Did you ever hear of Gustav Doré? Gustav Doré, a person I would have a great interest, was a prolific engraver, an artist, illustrator, sculptor, working primarily with wood and steel, or engraver. He was born in France in 1832. He had a collection of engravings, etchings, illustrations, they said, called the Bible. So we can see from the earliest times, the arts and the gospel were very much connected. God, the greatest writer of all, used writers to communicate his plan, purpose, and even his heart to the creatures called humans. Writing is the principal thing, don't you think? The sole method, the pen, that is masterful, mightier than the sword. God put together more than 40 writers. He used writers, more than 40 writers, to bring about the book of God that we call the Bible. From Moses to David, to the prophets, to the New Testament writers, including the Apostle Paul, who penned some of the most powerful writings ever written. Have you read the book of Romans? Not forgetting the writings of John and Charles Wesley, George Whitefield, Charles Spurgeon, and so many more. Men who are renowned, called mighty, who used their pen mightier than the sword. See, I know what it is to do what they did, to write, and write some more. I understand this. When a man finds joy in his labour, his search is almost done. Let's go back to the question, why do you write and how do you start? Well, here is a very long answer that I'll tell you in the shortest possible way. In all I've done, there is something different about writing. It is a wonderful gift that everyone should at some point take and undertake a project. Seeing being good, bad or indifferent is not what it's all about. Nor is it the final goal to be applauded by men who will one day be forgotten. Write, draw and paint, make music, sing and dance, design and create. The world is your stage. Act it out. Read the script and play your part. If no one notices you, who cares? Hello? Focus on you. Don't focus on the people who haven't noticed you. Remember that you are the someone, the central character in the motion picture of your life. Go for a walk and marvel at who you are and what you have done, the steps you have taken, the ones undertaken to earn you the title of being you. Dance, little sister. Dance. My little book of Proverbs I called Lincoln Lane. The morning of the 7th of January 2025. The clothes on the line dance in the wind, yet no one hears the music. A woman is so powerful she can topple a president, and a stunning one can overthrow a king. Nothing is everywhere, no one sees it. Time is a runner, no one beats it. A baby is born screaming, so we expect anything else when he grows. Marvel at the mother and admire the father. Together they've done something no one else could. They've brought a unique person into the world. And silence is the loudest voice when no one says a word. A handshake from an enemy is kinder than a gift from a friend who watches you with a jealous eye. And never let the same snake bite you twice. The tongue of a gossip is sharper than a sword. His feet are swifter than a gazelle. He has wings that cause him to soar. The sound of music soothed the king, but the sword in the hand of the giant slayer made him afraid. What will you do if you run from a man when you stand before the lion? Because as surely as yesterday is gone, tomorrow will come. Beauty is fleeting but challenging, not for those who possess it, but for those who surround those that do. One man talks of the fight while the other fights the talk, because as surely as yesterday is gone, tomorrow will come. One is great in his confined space, another is powerful wherever he goes. God made man, then he made woman. He created them separate so they'd never be apart. Get into the corner, said the master. You're an idiot, said the teacher to the student who was taught everything he knew by the one who made a claim. No one can be born into this world twice, asked the age, surely. Well then how is it I always see Saul? The fight is for the brave, but wisdom can't be beat. The teacher marched me into a corner. The master gave me a seat. Crowned me with a hat and called me a nasty name. Dunce said one, bad boy said another. In the darkness I could hear my mother's voice. It came at me in a whisper, soft and gentle, like a breeze on a hot summer's day. It was more powerful than anything the master could say. If at first you don't succeed, try and try again, George. Time was stolen by the hand of the child, who took his imagination and carved what was mine. The butterfly in the air, the bumblebee in the shop, the fish in the river and the ladybird on the grass. If you run from a man, what will you do when you stand before a lion? Because as surely as yesterday is gone, tomorrow will come. Beauty is the marvel of many, but humility is the crown worn by few. One speaks the truth but lives not a word, another keeps silent and lives it to the full. I took hold of the truth and ran like a sprinter, but I got lost in the moment when others tried to trip me up. I was lost in a moment that almost lost me. I twirled around and upside down, going down into the depths of the sea. Man has a purpose that's never his own. It's either from above or somewhere below. When a question has an answer, the problem is solved. In a foolish man's eyes, he is bigger than God. Yet he hasn't got even a clue about the day he was born. Desire is to be mastered, not master you. Remember, the grave is not prejudiced, nor does it regard class. It cares nothing for age, and its dominance will last. Timber across a tree where mankind should bow, the blood of one man shed for so many. Do you know about the coin they call the penny? If the strongest man can't be bound, why do they bound him? Who walked between the carcasses? Have you heard about Melchizedek? So tell me about the Ancient of Days, or the man who sold his friend with a kiss and the price of a field. King in his castle, pauper upon the streets. Which of these did you ever try to reach? If upside down is the wrong way up, what is downside up? See, there's Tom, Dick and Harry and his cousin called Larry. He was the happiest man that ever lived. One man says yes, and another man says no, but neither of them know in which way they go. If purity has a companion, and if he is your very special friend, you will see the king at the start, the middle and the end.